all of which may not be friendly, to put it mildly. That's what I say.
Argument based on border states has a problem. We have many states on the border.
History also. The history, I have given the details in my affidavit, filed long back, how the situation in Kashmir is developing. The number of deaths of civilians, the number of deaths of security forces, the number of attacks, the number of stone pelting, the number of every week 2 or 3 days of hartal, paralyzing schools, hospitals, banks, business houses, everything. All these are policy considerations. Whenever a state reorganization takes place, not only there are policy considerations as to why the state needs to be reorganized, but there is always a blueprint as to what the central government would do after the state is reorganized. How to bring, in a peculiar facts of this case, the youth in the mainstream, how to ensure that they are gainfully employed, how to float certain schemes so that people on the bordering or who are continuous facing the attacks of shelling, etc., are now getting a sense of confidence that the government has not left us, etc. There are several considerations that we will have to start with, say, democratic local self-government elections so that the people participate in the internal local self-government institutions for their own good.
The source of the power to reorganize, which is with the Union of India, is the same.
3 and 4.
Right.
Parameters would differ.
But therefore, do you concede that power to the Union in respect of every Indian state? You're not saying that you should concede that, no, this only exists for J&K, it exists for every Indian state, right?
But the power is for all.
Once you concede that power to the Union in relation to every Indian state, how do you ensure that, the kind of abuse that they apprehended, we are now not defining it for today, but what we lay down would be the law for the land. It is revised by some larger bench at some point of time. But how do you ensure then that this power will not be
used, in case of others? That was my worry. I share your lordship's worry, and therefore, I started by saying that your lordships are dealing with a one-of-its-kind situation, which is not going to arise, And if, I point out, after...
Not one-of-its-kind situation. We have seen on the northern border, Punjab, very difficult times. Similarly, some states at different times in Northeast, all border states.
One of the states in Northeast presently.
Many
none of
times
them
as because of whatever reasons, near the border, we can't choose our neighbors, as they often say. We have had problems.
Correct.
So the worry which Chief Justice expresses is that tomorrow, if there is a scenario of order, can each of these states face this problem?
And why each of these states only, it can happen to, for example, Madhya Pradesh or Gujarat or any state.
Your argument from the borders is what I'm testing. See, there are states which are on border of other countries where situation may not be very palatable. Now, at least those border states, I understood your argument that these border states are category by themselves. How do we distinguish between Jammu and Kashmir and any other border state?
I'll just, I'm grateful for, I'll point out. In none of the border states, take northeastern states or Punjab as your lordships gave an example.
Uttarakhand has a border state.
Northeastern states or Punjab or any other. Rajasthan has a border, Gujarat has a border.
What possibly is being pointed out, you can't say because it's a border state, so it has to be treated.
I'm not saying it. That's not the distinction I'm drawing.
Because then it's a very, it will
No,
be.
no, my lord, there are several border states: Gujarat, Rajasthan,
Himachal, Uttarakhand.
Uttarakhand, Himachal. I'm not, my lord. Kindly don't misunderstand my submission that because it is a border state, it requires different treatment. My lord, kindly see the consistent, repeated situation which we are facing since decades on a daily basis is not happening in Gujarat or Northeast or any other border state. Here is a border state where one of our territory is occupied by Pakistan, or we have POK. I have given figures. What are the deaths taking place every year, right from 20 years before? This is a problem faced by the nation from decades, since decades, which we are, my lord, trying to, my lord, sort out or deal with. And I'll show, my lord, this is not, my lord, just, these decisions are never taken as knee-jerk reactions. There is always, my lord, policy considerations. Border state, this particular state being a different kind of a border state is one, but there are several considerations. And one of the consideration would be how to bring the youth in the mainstream. And I'll point out, my lord, everything was kept in mind and is implemented. And what we are seeing today is the result of that blueprint being implemented. Lord, after this decision, there were elections which took place of district development councils. There are 34,000 elected people. Democracy going to the grassroots. There are, Lord, large number of schemes which are introduced. Lord, the youth which used to be employed by the interest not inimical to India, my lord, maybe terror groups or whoever, and were paid, now are gainfully employed. Lord, there is always a blueprint, and I'll be able to show that blueprint working. Lord, I'm Lord, conscious of the fact that end would not justify the means, but end, your lordships can certainly see whether these policy considerations which decided the reorganization were correct or not. Because the government has acted with a blueprint, not only for reorganization, what would be done after reorganization and how Jammu and Kashmir would return to normalcy. And I'll be able to show the steps which are taken. Right now, my lord, I will deal with in three parts. My lord, the impression which is given to your lordship is that this has been reduced from state to union territory. Means there is a downgradation. And my lord, there are some other factually incorrect statements were made, my lord, by one of the council, my lord, who argued for reorganization, against reorganization, that we lost this, there is no representation, there is no consolidated fund of India, we can't participate in election of president, our seats in the parliament is gone.
Let's look at it at the first level, basic level, the textual level of the constitution. Let's go step by step. Then we'll go to the last part, namely, which was what motivated this decision. And there you have said that these are policy considerations. Look at the nature of the state, the history. You can't lose sight of all that. We must also deal with it at a textual level. Does Parliament have the power to convert an existing Indian state into a union territory?
Yes.
If it does have that power, how do you read Article 3? If you can just assist us on, that's the basic textual question.
Lord, yes, Lord, there are, my lord, specific judicial pronouncements on that.
No, but we will go to the judicial pronouncements.
I'll
Why don't you
actually
first look at the text of the statute?
Before that,
of the Constitution.
may I request your lordships to have a just bird's eye view of the Reorganization Act itself? No one has shown that, my lord, to your lordships. I want your lordships to see that.
We look at the Reorganization Act. That will provide us.
I'm not reading every part. I'm just taking your lordships through the titles. Lord, nobody has read, my lord. And
first, that's worrying us. That's worrying us. Let's look at the source of the power.
Kindly come to, my lord, Article 3.
Just in